What's good, everybody? Time for another Magic Man review. And for this review, we'll take a little trip off the beaten path. Not delve into history as much. A little bit history, but a little bit different. This book is Everybody's Guide to Natural ESP by Ingo Swann. Okay. If you don't know who Ingo Swann is, he's one of these guys who kind of out there. He worked for the government for a while doing the if you ever saw the movie Men Who Stare at Goats, this is one of the guys who was in that program. Okay. It was a real program. They really did this stuff back in the day when the United States and the Soviet Union were trying to remote view each other's capabilities. Their nuclear submarines, their missiles, and all that stuff. They wanted to see what the other person was trying to keep secret. Okay, and it was really cool stuff. Ingo Swann passed away a couple years ago. The guy was a real character. Even in his 70s, I think he was in his 80s maybe. He looked young too. Just go look up some of Ingo Swann's videos on YouTube. The guy's a trip, right? He's kind of he's got a little wit to him, He kind of likes to mess with people a little bit too. He messes with people's beliefs. He kind of trips them up a little bit. It's kind of like in a in a Plato sort of way. He kind of questions their beliefs. It's like, well, really? Okay. Well, what about this? But he does it in a playful kind of way, in a way he's kind of talking a little bit of smack. It's really funny. The guy's a trip. I mean, just go look up some of his videos. You'll love him. This book is not exactly what I thought it was going to be. All right. I thought it was going to be a little bit more of well, actually, I wanted to kind of see the future a little bit. Maybe how kind of see the future, do a little bit of predicting. Everybody likes to do that, right? Who doesn't want to know the future? Get the lottery numbers. But it's really not. More or less, the book is about remote viewing. How to remote view. If he could have just renamed this book "How to Remote View." Okay, because most of what he does to develop your psychic, your natural ESP, is learn how to remote view. Okay, and this is how they did it. It's very, very, very simple. One of the things about this book I didn't really care for is the need to have legitimacy. Okay, not so much today, but back in the 70s and the 80s, when the world was a little bit less secular and more Christian, people did not like this stuff at all. They thought, oh, ESP, tarot reading, stuff like that, crystals and stuff. Some of that's hogwash, but a lot of people thought that, that stuff is it's the devil. That is the devil talking to you. That's demons. If it's not in the Bible, then it's not true. And there was a lot of that, Here in America, a lot of that in America. But you also had stuff in the turn of the century, with the Roosevelts, even Ronald Reagan and his wife. People don't know that, but they were really into the occult. You got to go back, oh, Mr. Conservative, blah, blah, blah. No, his wife was, Nancy Reagan was a liberal. Ronald Reagan was a liberal too. People don't know that. But they were into the occult. They did seances. They did all kinds of strange, crazy stuff. They're from California, people. People like to, attribute things to other people that's it's not true. Anyway, but there were different times in American history where this kind of stuff was accepted. It was kind of the thing, but the overriding majority of the time, the overriding majority to recent times, even now, people will say that is the devil. Your ESP, remote viewing, That's demons. You know, you don't need to be fooling with this stuff, okay? But he catalogs, you know, psychic research going back, you know, hundreds of years. It's very well documented. But for me, I didn't need it. I mean, I've already researched a lot of stuff. You know, this is kind of stuff that's interested me for years, you know. So I didn't need the stuff. I didn't need to go back and see what people in Germany were doing in 1874. You know, I didn't need to know what they were doing in 1907 in France, okay? I get it, all right? Y'all been working on this stuff. Let's get down to the nuts and bolts, okay? And he does do that. But most of it is just remote viewing, okay? It's like, well, how do I know what's going to happen, you know, 2 years from now? He doesn't get into that. You know, does not get into that at all. Which was kind of disappointing, you know. Who doesn't want to know, you know, the winning hand when you go into the casino, right? Who doesn't want to know those winning lottery ticket numbers? I don't think I mean, I guess it does. You could do that if you get really good at this stuff. But, I mean, you can't give some people money. But it was a really good book. One of the things he does get into that I really like is what he describes, how he describes why ESP does not work for some people. It's because our own preconceptions get in the way. Okay? You see one of these illustrations right here about how, you know, the information flows through us and we can have access to it, but it gets blurted out by all of, you know, our daily life. You know, you could be receiving a message or something for information from who knows where. It could be a devil, but you could be receiving something out there, but your own reality and your own mind, your own way of thinking, and just your daily life, you know, it just screws it up, you know, and we interpret it the wrong way. We don't even know what we're really looking at because it gets jumbled up. And it didn't go into this, but one of the ways we can kind of get rid of that is kind of letting loose of attachments and the way we see reality sometimes. And that's hard because people are really wed to the way they think, you know, especially as you get older. You know, people say, oh, well, you know, he's set in his ways. Yeah, people get set in their ways, and that's how they see reality, and that's what it is to them, you know. So they could have a dream that's a premonition, but guess what? It's also blurred in with the television shows that you watched that day when you came home from work, or the person you cussed out on the highway that almost ran you off the road going to work, you know. It's just life, you know, and it gets all jumbled up and stuff like that. But it's a good book, and one of the things it gets into is why ESP works, is because human beings, according to Ingo Swann, not me, okay, are biological electric beings, and the ESP comes through our like we all have electricity. You know, we're all electric beings. They have cameras now that can photograph your aura. Back in the day, people didn't believe in that. And you'll see this too when people, like, they had their arm amputated, and they put the camera there, and they put up the arm, and half the arm's gone, but you still see the electric part of the arm that's still there. So people will often say, you know, amputees will still say, I still feel like my arm is there. Well, it's because your arm is still there electrically. Biologically, it's gone, you know. But we receive, you know, a lot of the ESP and a lot of the information that people think they're like, you know, clairvoyant or psychic. They receive it electrically, you know, because, say for instance, you know, say if I had a brother that lived 20 miles away and my brother got hit by a car, all of a sudden I'm just sitting there, I was like, oh man, my brother's in danger. I don't know why I don't feel like this, but I know that my brother is in danger. right? Something happened to him. I know it. I just know it. You know, and I called my brother, you know, called his wife. Oh, he got hit by a car. I'm like, oh man, I knew it. How did I know it? It's because we're, you know, according to Ingo Swann, we're connected by, you know, electricity, magnetism, different ways. You have to read the book. He describes it much better than I do. Okay, but overall, it was a good book. Short read. I wasn't really interested in the remote viewing stuff. You know, I'm not really here to hit the lottery. You know, you can't give me money. Anyways, good book. I recommend it. Not what I was looking, not really what I was looking for. I'm good with it. I know all about remote viewing. I don't need to find, you know, a pot of gold out in the. Where is the pot of gold out in the woods? You know, I don't care. I'm good. Ingo Swann, everyone's guide to natural ESP. Go look him up on the web. Watch some of his videos. It's cool stuff. It's really funny. All right, people. Laters.